Shabbat Shalom, y'all. It's the first thing I see on the chat here. I'm out of breath because I used to play squash 4 or 5 times a week, and I haven't played in 6 months, and I had to run to the bima to grab my talus with 22 seconds left on the timer because I was all set up and just standing here and then realized didn't have my lucky talus. And those 20 seconds. Whew. Shabbat Shalom, y'all. I'm Rabbi Matthew Leibl, and it is great to have you here. We are coming to you live from Congregation Shared Zedek in Winnipeg, Manitoba, Canada. We are thrilled to have you with us on what for us has been an unexpectedly chilly Friday. Friday morning, Friday afternoon. We had snow last night. It's been balmy here, and we had snow. It is great to have you with us. Set the mood with this. Shalom Aleichem, Malachei Asharet, Malachei Elyon. Mi Melech Malachei Amlachim HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Boachem L'Shalom, Malachei Ashalom, Malachei Elyon. Mi Melech Malchei Amlachim HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Baruchuni L'Shalom, Malachei Ashalom, Malachei Elyon. Mi Melech Malchei Amlachim HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Seidchem L'Shalom, Malachei Ashalom, Malachei Elyon. Mi Melech Malchei Amlachim HaKadosh Baruch Hu. We use a Siddur that you may have. I don't know how many people have a hard copy. Siddur Chadash, it's blue. But don't worry if you don't have a hard copy. We've got a PDF copy of all the pages in order that we'll be using on our website. Maybe that's how you're watching us already, www.szwinnipeg.ca. Now there's a video player there, and next to it there's a link you can click on, and then you can open up the PDF and follow along if you pick the right Siddur, which is for Friday night. If you are watching with us on YouTube, on our YouTube channel, Rabbi Mas would tell you to like and subscribe and do all those things. So please, like and subscribe and do all those things. Pushing thumbs up and a bell. I don't really know. On Facebook, which I certainly don't know. I've never had a Facebook account, but if you're watching on it, you do, and you probably know. Just make sure you can sign up for all of our emails and things like that. There was an embarrassing email for me that went out of me doing Dayenu today, I heard. People got a lot of texts about it. Because Pesach starts tomorrow night, and later I'm going to tell you a story. I participated in an event last night for BBYO, B'nai B'rith Youth Organization. Shout out to B'nai B'rith, shout out to youth. They involved me in something back in Hanukkah, and I obviously didn't disappoint, or they couldn't get anybody else. 6 of 1. And so they asked me to do something for Pesach, and last night I told them a story all about Chad Gadya. And in a shorter version, I will try and tell you that before Kiddush. Like, what's Chad Gadya doing in the Seder? There should be 4 new questions this year, and one of them for me is, what's Chad Gadya doing in the Seder? At the very beginning of the PDF, if you're following, or if you have the actual book, page 174, we don't do Mincha. We move into Kabbalat Shabbat pretty quickly. So in lieu of Mincha, we do a psalm, and then we reflect on, with the Mourner's Kaddish, the Yortzites for today, before we get ready to leave this day behind and move into Shabbat. So, again, great to have you along. You can chat if you're watching on YouTube or Facebook, or you can sit back and bring in Shabbat. Let's bring in Shabbat together. Thanks for inviting me in. Page 174. Mizmor Shir Chanukat Habayit LeDavid. Arumim Charana Kiri Lerman Smachta Oy Vaili. Elech Adonai Krav Adonai Chanan Ma Beit Zaben Ami Berideti El Shachat Avar Yagini Mitecha Leman Yizamer Chachavet V'lo Yidom Adonai Elohai Le'olam Odeka. Mourner's Kaddish is page 176. Mourners and those observing a yort site, wherever you are, I invite you to rise with me. Friday, we are on the 13th in Nisan, 13th day in the Hebrew month of Nisan. And here are the yort sites for that day, the 13th of Nisan. Harry Feinstein, Aharon ben Leib, Yevgenia Fishberg, Sheva bat Yisrael, Max Gordon, Motel ben Mendel, Morris Halter, Moshe ben Yosef, Bertha Kleiman, Braindel bat Moshe v'Chaya Sora, Benjamin Levi, Binyamin ben Zachariah, Bessie Levi, Pesa bat Leib, Eva Pitch, Chava bat Yitzchak, Yeshayahu Saperstein, Yeshayahu ben Aaron Vizlota, Benjamin Sarner, Betty Schaefer, Rivka bat Chaim, Joseph Weissman, Yosef ben Yisrael Veliba, Sam Zenith, Shmuel ben David Vizipa, Yochevet bat Miriam. And from One More Candle, the organization that helps us remember the 1.5 million children who perished in the Holocaust, we remember Fania Berkovitz. All of these souls, Zichronam Livracha, of blessed memory. If there's someone with a yort site for the 13th of Nisan, Friday, before we move to Shabbat, and you have access to the chat, please type that name of your loved one into the chat. And again, I'll invite mourners and those observing yort site, page 176, please rise, Mourner's Kaddish. Yitgadal v'yitgada shemei rabbah, be'alma divra chirutei v'yamlich malchutei, b'chayechon uvyomechon uv'chayei dechol beit Yisrael, ba'gala uvizman kariv v'imru amen. Yehei shmei rabbah mevorach, le'olam u'amei almaya. Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh. V'yithadar v'yitalev v'yitalal shmei dekudsha brichu. Leila min kol birchata v'shirata, tushbechata v'nechemata, damiran be'alma v'imru amen. Yehei shlama rabba min shemaya. V'chaim aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen. Oseh shalom b'imromav. Hu ya'aseh shalom aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen. I'm catching some messages out of the corner of my eye. It's great to see so many people with us here tonight for our Kabbalat Shabbat service. Again, our website, sz@winnipeg.ca, has a link to our Sidurim, our prayer books. Pick the one for Friday night, and we'll begin on page 22 with Kabbalat Shabbat. And Lechuna Ranana. Lechuna Ranana, Lechuna Ranana, Lechuna Ranana, Ladonai. Lechuna Ranana, Lechuna Ranana, Lechuna Ranana, Ladonai. Naria, Naria, Letzuri Sheinu, Nekad Mafanav Betoda. Naria, Naria, Letzuri Sheinu, Bizmirot Naria Lo. Lechuna Ranana, Lechuna Ranana, Lechuna Ranana, Ladonai. Lechuna Ranana, Lechuna Ranana, Lechuna Ranana, Ladonai. Chiel Gadol Adonai u'melech gadol al kol Elohim. As we continue silently through that page, I want to quickly get in some Shabbat Shaloms from Scream to a Side, Terry Zed, who was there with Shabbat Shalom, y'all, and I passed that message on. Thank you. Sandy and Marvin, Shabbat Shalom. Get Shabbos to you, Judge. Shabbat Shalom and Chag Sameach, Pesach Sameach. Sadie, thank you so much. Eric Green, Shabbat Shalom. David Wilder's doing the Haftarah tomorrow, a very special one for Shabbat HaGadol, his bar mitzvah. Great to have you here, David. Hope you've been practicing. Chag Pesach Sameach to you too, Eugene. Let's continue, bottom of page 22. 40 shana kud bedor v'omaram to'e levavhem vehem lo yadu derachai asher nishbati ve'api mivun el menuchati. Page 24. Shir l'Adonai, shir chadash, shir l'Adonai kol haaretz. We also had Shabbat Shalom from Lori in Israel. Saw Israel this week. Don't see very many people, so it's kind of cool. We had a mikvah celebration, so we were at the Rabbi, and we saw Israel there, and that was really nice. Great to see you, and great to see you here, Israel. Thanks. Susan's there. Terry Zed's mom. Terry Zed's mom have a pseudonym, at least, or even a name we can use. Judy and Andrea. Shabbat Shalom to you, too, and to everyone. It's great to have you all here. Page 24, we're 4 lines from the bottom. Elaine and Bill also, wonderful. 4 lines from the bottom. Yismechu hashamayim, Yismechu hashamayim, Yismechu hashamayim, v'tagel haaretz. Yismechu hashamayim, Yismechu hashamayim, Yismechu hashamayim v'tagel haaretz. Yiram hayam, Yiram hayam, Yiram hayam umelo. Yiram hayam, Yiram hayam, Yiram hayam umelo. Yalo sadai, Yalo sadai. Yalo sadai v'chol asher bo. As Yeranenu, as Yeranenu, as Yeranenu kol atzeyar. As Yeranenu, as Yeranenu, as Yeranenu kol atzeyar. Lifnei Adonai kiva, kiva lishbot haaretz, yishbot tevel b'tzedek, v'yamim b'emunato. Continuing on to page 26. Adonai malach tagel haaretz. Judy. Judy. Judy, great to have you too. That's Terry Zed's mom. Judy joining us. She's not going to chat. Judy. Rabbi Mas told me I should stand more in the middle. I'm trying. Not now, before. Bottom of page 26. Or zaru alat tzadik, uleishrei lev simcha, simchut tzadikim baronai, ve'odu lezecher kodsho. Page 28. Shir l'Adonai, shir mizmor, shir l'Adonai, shir chadash, ki niflo rasa. Lifnei Adonai kiva, kiva lishbot haaretz, yishbot tevel b'tzedek, ve'amim b'mei sharim. Page 30. Adonai malach yirgezu amin. Bottom of page 30. Romemu Adonai Eloheinu v'hishtachavu lehar kodsho. Romemu Adonai Eloheinu v'hishtachavu lehar kodsho. Ki kadosh Adonai Eloheinu romemu. Ki kadosh Adonai Eloheinu romemu. Romemu Adonai Eloheinu v'hishtachavu lehar kodsho. Romemu Adonai Eloheinu והשתחוו להר קודשו. All right, page 34. I invite you to rise wherever you are, page 34. So I told you I got to come up with four new questions. Four new questions for Mani Shana. One of them I'm going to answer tonight. What the heck does Chad Gadya have to do with Pesach? Why didn't you tell me I was all crooked? What does Chad Gadya have to do with Pesach? That's one question we'll answer tonight. Is horseradish, like pink, chrein, horseradish, an acceptable maror? I once answered this before. I did a lunch and learn last year in this very spot, but I've learned that sometimes people don't remember it a year later. And then you're like, oh, wait a second, because it's a big debate in my house. Actually, not in my parents' house. Page 34, I invite you to rise. Miriam, Shabbat Shalom, thanks for being here. Great to have you. Page 34, last psalm before Lachad Odi. Mizmor leDavid, Havul Adonai b'nei Elim, Havul Adonai kavod va'oz, Havul Adonai kivod shemo, Ishtachavu Adonai behar hakodesh, Kol Adonai al hamayim, El hakavod irim Adonai, hamayim, hamayim, hamayim rabim, hamayim, hamayim, hamayim rabim. Kol Adonai b'koach, Kol Adonai behadar, Kol Adonai shover arazim, Vayishaber Adonai et arzei alvanon, Vayarkidem kemo egel Levanon, Besirion kemo ben remim, kemo ben remim. Kol Adonai chotzev lahavotesh, Kol Adonai yachil Adonai midbar kadesh, Kol Adonai yecholel ayalot, vayechesof ye'arod uvehechalo, kulo merkavod, kulo merkavod, kulo merkavod. Adonai lama bu yashav, vayishev Adonai melech leolam, Adonai oz lamo iten, Adonai yevarech et amo v'shalom. Et amo v'shalom. Please be seated. Barb and Sid. Love seeing Barb and Sid Friday night. Been a few years. It's been really nice sharing Friday night with you, I have to say. So it's really nice to see you. Thanks for being here. Rochelle Pinkovich. It is great to see you too, Rochelle. And if you're referring to the pink chrein horseradish thing, it's because my family is in the know, and I got to remind myself the reason. I got to go back and look it up. But even though it's like a really popular custom, and there's a valid argument that it's, I never liked that argument with words, that if you use a word like irregardless, which isn't a word enough, that it becomes common usage, that you can use your way into a definition. I always felt like that was wrong. But there is a precedent for that kind of in Talmudic and rabbinic and Jewish thought. You know, the way the people act kind of dictates, and we use that in the way we interpret halakha and ritual and stuff, even in our synagogue. So whatever. I guess it's because irregardless is so just silly and foolish. But pink crane, horseradish, does not satisfy what the criteria for being a real maror. If you use romaine lettuce, and I always used to say, romaine, give me the pink stuff. But no, you can put it on your gefilte fish. You can use it. But it's not Seder plate maror. No. So we're on page 38. Lecha dodi. Lecha dodi. Likrat kala p'nei Shabbat nekabela. Lecha dodi. Likrat kala p'nei Shabbat nekabela. Shamor v'zachor b'dibur echad Ishmi'anu el hamiuchad Adonai echad u'shmo echad L'shem u'tiferet v'litila Lecha dodi likrat kala b'nei Shabbat nekabela Lecha dodi likrat kala b'nei Shabbat nekabela Likrat Shabbat lechu v'necha ki mekor haberacha meroshmi kedem nesucha sof maaseh b'machshava techila lecha dodi likrat kala b'nei Shabbat nekabela lecha dodi likrat kala b'nei Shabbat nekabela Mikdash melech ir melucha kumitzei mitoch ha'hafecha Rav lach shevet be'emek habacha v'hu yachamo alayich chemla lecha dodi likrat kala b'nei Shabbat nekabela lecha dodi likrat kala b'nei Shabbat nekabela Hitnari me'afar kumi Leave shibig de tifartechami Al yad ben yishai beit lachmi Karvayel nafshi ge'ala Lecha dodi likrat kala B'nei Shabbat nekabela Lecha dodi likrat kala B'nei Shabbat nekabela Page 40. Itoreri, kiva orech, kumi ori, uri, shir daberi, kivud Adonai alayich nigla. Lecha dodi likrat kala, b'nei Shabbat nekabela. Lecha dodi likrat kala, b'nei Shabbat nekabela. Lo tevoshi velo tikalmi מה תשתוכחי ומה תהמי, בך יחסו עניי עמי, ונבנתה העיר על תילה. לך לך דודי דודי, לך דודי לקראת כלה, פני שבת נקבלה. לך דודי לקראת כלה, פני שבת נקבלה. Shabbat Shalom, Marilyn. And Rochelle, Shabbat Shalom again, yes. And Sheila Steinfeld's there, and she's clapping and she's loving. I love it. Vayum limshisa shosai v'rachaku komevalayich yasis alayich Elohayich kimsos chatana kala la 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 lecha doti likrat kala penei shabbat nekavela lecha doti likrat kala penei shabbat nekavela. Yaminu smol tifrotzi vet Adonai taritzi al yarish ben partzi venismecha venagi la 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 lecha dodi likrat kala penei shabbat nekavela lecha dodi likrat kala penei shabbat nekavela. Shabbat Shalom, Jackie. Last verse, I invite you wherever you are, please rise, face the door. We picture the Shabbat bride coming through that door, and on the words Boi Chala, we bow. Welcome that Shabbat bride into our lives. Boi v'shalom ateret bala, gam besimcha uvetzohala, toch emunei am skula, boi chala, boi chala, lecha dodi likrat kala, penei shabbat nekavela, lecha dodi likrat kala, penei shabbat nekavela, la 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 lecha dodi likrat kala, penei shabbat nekavela, lecha dodi likrat kala, penei shabbat nekavela. Please be seated. All right. Big moment there in Kabbalat Shabbat, Lecha Dodi. I like it. I like it a lot. We'll go to page 42 now. Mizmor Shir Le'yom HaShabbat. Ian Rab, great to have you here. Shabbat Shalom and happy Pesach as well. We can do this one at the bottom of 4 lines from the bottom, page 42. Tzadika tamar yifrach kerez bavanon hiskeh shtuli beved Adonai bechatzrot Eloheinu yafrichu od yenuvun v'seva desheni verananim Yashar Adonai Tsuri Tsuri Velo Avla Tabo. We conclude Kabbalat Shabbat with the final psalm on page 44. Adonai Malach Geulave. Edo techanem numo leveit chanav hakodesh Adonai leorech yamim. I'm going to try something a little different this week. As we conclude Kabbalat Shabbat, we're about to make our way into the next part of our service, the second part, which is Aravit, or, if you prefer, the other Hebrew title for it, Ma'ariv, the evening service. This is liturgically the beginning of Shabbat, right? This is exactly when Shabbat begins. And in a moment we will recite the Mourner's Kaddish as we normally do at this time. In fact, it says so even in our Siddur. But something that I've been struggling, and for a while I wasn't even conscious of the fact that they were doing it my colleagues' other evenings. I just kind of whizzed by me. I thought we were just doing it in the morning, and then when I realized that twice a day we're doing the Misha Berach prayer, I wanted to find a place to fit it into Friday night. And I thought right here, just after 6 o'clock local time, as we would kind of make that transition from Kabbalat Shabbat to Mariv, that this would be a good place to do it, because I don't like rushing to do it and squeeze it in at the end when we're in the mode for Kiddush, and a quick teaching, and then a drink, and then people want to get on with Shabbat dinner. But it's very important that we do this. We know this because we see how many names people add. And by the way, if you have names that you want to add, I'm about to do the Misha Berach prayer. Please type them in now. And so I think I'm going to try it here, and I think this might be a good spot to continue doing this. So let's pause now and recognize there are those in our community who need a prayer for healing and recovery. They may be in our families, in our cities, or in the global community. We also pray on behalf of care providers who are on the front lines still a year later, dealing with everything going on and offering care and healing. Blessed is the one who strengthens the hands of those who care for the sick. We are grateful for caregivers, doctors, nurses, other health providers. May their bodies be sustained in good health. May their hearts remain open to all in need. May their minds continue to be clear and discerning, for they walk in the ways of Hashem, healing the sick, soothing the brokenhearted, and serving all humankind. We're also going to call out names of people that we're praying for them, a refuah shlema, whether it's physical strength, mental, a spiritual healing, a healing of feeling, emotion. For everyone, we pray for a full and complete return to better health, a refuah shlema. Aviva bat Malka, Yaakov ben Sion ben Miriam, Isabella bat Sarah, Chaya Zahava bat Sarah, Bat Sheva bat Sarah, Yitzchak Dov ben Bela, Michelle Sipe, Chaya bat Theda, Ida Rabinovich, Alexander Taft, Miriam bat Freda, Eliyahu Shlomo ben Chana, Moshe Aharon ben Leah, Miriam Rachel bat Leah, Elokim Pesach ben Esther Pessi, Liba bat Fagel, Sharon bat Goldie, Cindy Levinson, Elaine Miller, Leticia Corrado, Hachazan Shefer ben Miriam, Shandel bat Miriam, Harav Avraham Yehoshua Heschel ben Ruth, Stephen Mebatia ben Wengari, Bela bat Sonia, Debbie Werner, Sheila Lubel, Binyamin ben Moshe, Rachel bat Sonia, Alfie Glass, Beryl ben Dvora, Esther Bela bat Sarah, Atara bat Etel, Shmuel Leib ben Gittel, Dana Brinley, Janice Diner bat Batsheva, Stephen Alexander Lee, Leah bat Rachel, Dvora Gittel bat Leah, Binyamin Pinchas ben Dvora Gittel, Nachum Leib ben Leah, Leibl ben Yomen, Ben Manya, Lucy Braverman, Michael Braverman, Risa Langhans, Karen Greenberg, Shoshana bat Sarah, Adrian McDonald, Frida bat Regina, Rishon ben Sarah, Jane York, Leah bat Adele, Colin Rich, Andrew Strand, Maureen Rich, Toby Wilson, Sivia bat Brana, Jerry Marcus, Nathaniel Wegner, Misha Berach. Misha Berach Avoteinu Mekor Abracha Limotenu. May the source of strength, who bless the ones before us, help us find the courage to make our lives a blessing, and let us say Amen. Mi sheberach imotenu mekor abracha lavotenu. Bless those in need of healing with refuah shlema, the renewal of body, the renewal of spirit, and let us say Amen. We can now turn to page 124, and before Mariv begins, we can have the recitation of the Mourner's Kaddish. As we leave Friday behind, the day, Chol, and we get to Shabbat, we turn the calendar to the 14th day in the Hebrew month of Nisan. And on the 14th of Nisan, we commemorate the following yortzites: Henry Bakalinsky, Herschel ben Yitzchak Meir, Ignacio Bail, Nisim ben Mordechai, Eddie Bebchuk, Eddie Badzev Umiriam, Rachel Leah Kalman, Esther Rachel Cohen, Esther Rachel ba Mordechai Shlomo, Marjorie Kramer, Miriam bat David, Frederick B. Dubinsky, Ephraim Bear Ben Hirsch, Morris Fields, Benjamin Galsky, Beryl Ben Moshe, Samuel Gelfand, Shia Ben Abba Shmeria HaKohen, Israel Globerman, Yisrael Ben Avram Verivka, Faye Grant, Tzipora bat Yaakov Vigolda, Max Hector, Nachum Mendel ben Yosef, Samuel Corbin, Yeshayahu ben Menachem Mendel, Bernard Cowell, Baruch ben Shimon Ubluma, Aaron Levinson, Aharon Yisrael ben Moshe Vehese, Samuel Muslavsky, Sussman ben Yosef Vechava, Abraham Paul, Avram ben Mendel, Jacob Portnoy, Yaakov ben Lieber, Norman Shapiro, Natan Feivel ben Yisrael, Jody Swire, Yosefa bat Shmuel Berachel, Isaac Shiegel, Yitzchak ben Avraham, Edith Uster, Isha bat Feitel, Zichronam Livracha, all of blessed memory. If there's anyone with a yortzeit on the 14th of Nisan whose name we haven't called, please type your loved one's name into the chat. And again, I'll invite you to turn to page 124. If you are in mourning or observing a yortzeit, I invite you to rise with me. Yitgadal v'yitgadash shemei Rabbah. Be'alma divrach hirutei v'yamlich malchutei. B'chayechon uvyomechon uv'chayei dechol beit Yisrael. Ba'galal v'zman kariv v'imru amen. Yehei shmei Rabbah mevorach le'olam u'lamei almaya. Yiparach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitramam v'yitnaseh. V'yithadar v'yitale v'yithalal shemei dekudsha brichu. Leila min kol birchata v'shirata. Tushbechata v'nechemata damiran be'alma v'imru amen. Yehei shlama rabba min shemaya. V'chaim aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen. Oseh shalom bimromav. Hu yaseh shalom Aleinu Val Kol Yisrael Bimru. Amen. I invite everyone to either rise or remain standing. Let's do the Baruch Hu together, the call to worship, page 50, and I'll say Shabbat Shalom to Sarah B., who's with us on the chat. Page 50, Baruch Hu. Baruch Hu et Adonai HaMevorach. Baruch Adonai Mevorach Le'olam Va'ed. Please be seated. Baruch Adonai Le'olam Va'ed. Umavir yom umevi laila, umavdil ben yom uvein laila. Adonai tzvaot shemo, El chai v'kayam, tamid yimloch aleinu leolam voed. Baruch atah Adonai, Hamari v'aravi. Page 52. Ahavat olam beit Yisrael amchavta. Ki hem chayenu ve'orech yameinu, vahem nege yomam v'layla, ve'ahavat chal tasir mimenu lolamim. Baruch atah Adonai, ohev amo Yisrael. Coming up to the Shema, page 54. Let's join together and cover our eyes. Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Echad. Ve'ahavta et Adonai Elohecha bechol levavecha uvechol nafshecha uvechol meodecha ve'ayu advarim ha'ele asher anochi mitzavecha hayom alevavecha ושיננתם לבניך ודיברת בם בשבתך בביתך ובלכתך בדרך ובשוכבך ובקומך וקשרתם לאות על ידיך והיו לטודפות בין עיניך וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובשעריך. I invite you to continue through the rest of the Shema, page 56 and page 58. And I'll say Shabbat Shalom to Larry Fleischer and Glory Fleischer, who are grateful for replay, which makes me think that they've gone back in time and aren't seeing this as I say it. I doubt they're thankful for sports and instant replay. Call it a hunch. Al ha'aretz v'yomer Adonai Moshe le'mor al ber b'nai Yisrael v'amar shalem v'tzulim tzitzigah v'fegid l'dor t'man Shabbat Shalom, Roberto. Adonai Elohechem Amen. Page 60. Hemet v'emunah kol zavakayim Elohim Adonai le'menu tzuto v'nach l'Yisrael amo. Umalchuto beratzon kiblu aleihem Moshe v'nei Yisrael L'chanu shira b'simcha rabba אמרו כולם מי כמוך באלים אדוני מי כמוך נדר בקודש נורא תהילות אוסף מלכותך ראו ונקה בו קיים לפני משה זה עליינו ואמרו אדוני ימלוך לעולם ועד ונאמר כי פדה אדוני יעקב וגאלו מיד חזק ממנו ברוך אתה אדוני Kal Yisrael. Page 62 brings us to Hashkivenu. So, the way that this one works is that we sing the top line kind of like we're supposed to sing it like a round. One day we'll get together and we'll try it. And I mean, it's for those of you who joined us from international, like outside of Winnipeg, who aren't former Winnipeggers, we're not, like we sing actually Shabbat morning, but we don't really do rounds. It's not camp. Some people have told us that camp style services influenced kind of what we do, and I think that's for sure. Camp, Hebrew school, there's a lot in common there. At least for me, when I think about it. And I'm here, so that makes sense. But so, same for our people, I think, too. That's kind of the real thing. Less about me, more about them. But I don't know if we would ever be able to pull off a round. Anyway, we're supposed to do the top line as a round, and then we skip to the bridge, I guess, which is 3 lines from the bottom. And then the way I do it is I segue into the rest of the paragraph at the bottom with a different tune that just happens to be in the same key. So now you know. Hashkivenu Adonai Eloheinu L'Shalom V'hamidenu Malkeinu L'Chaim 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 Ushmor Tzeitenu Uvoenu L'Chaim Shalom Me'ata ve'ad olam Hashkivenu Adonai Eloheinu L'Shalom V'hamidenu Malkeinu L'Chaim Hashkivenu Adonai Eloheinu L'Shalom V'hamidenu Malkeinu L'Chaim V'hamidenu Malkeinu L'Chaim V'hamidenu Malkeinu L'Chaim Fros aleinu sukat shlomecha Ufros aleinu sukat shlomecha Baruch atah Adonai apores sukat shalom aleinu ve'al kol amo Yisrael ve'al Yerushalayim Amen. Ufros aleinu sukat shlomecha, ufros aleinu sukat shlomecha. Baruch atah Adonai, haporeh sukat shalom, aleinu ve'al kol amo Yisrael, ve'al Yerushalayim, ve'al Yerushalayim, ve'al Yerushalayim. Amen, amen, amen. Idea. It's a good idea from Sarah B. Hashkivenu, let it be. Working together. Never really thought about it, but it's pretty great. Page 64, we've got Vishamru. Invite you to rise. Vishamru v'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat, laso et ha-Shabbat, ledorotam beritola. Vishamru v'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat, laso et ha-Shabbat, ledorotam beritolam. Beini uvein b'nei Yisrael oti leolam, oti leolam. Veshamru b'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat, lasot et ha-Shabbat, ledorotam beritolam. Ki sheshet yamim asa Adonai, et ha-shamayim ve'et haaretz. Veshamru b'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat, lasot et ha-Shabbat, ledorotam beritolam. Uvayom hashvi shavat vayinafash, shavat vayinafash, shavat vayinafash. Veshamru b'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat, lasot et ha-Shabbat, ledorotam beritolam. Yes, I agree with what Barb and Sid said to Karen. We're just thrilled you're here, being late. There's nothing wrong with that. You can always also go back and watch, which is kind of cool. There is no late anymore. There's no more late. Page 66. By the way, I told you I got a little Pesach story for you about Chad Gadya. What's Chad Gadya doing in the Seder? I told a bunch of BBYO teens last night what I think the answer is, or what I've learned the answer is, and I'm going to share it with you coming up right before Kiddush in about 6-7 minutes. First Chatzi Kaddish and then the Amidah. Yitgadal ve'yitgadash shemei Rabbah ve'amad ivrach hirutei ve'amlich malchutei b'chayechon uv'yomechon uv'chayei dechol beit Yisrael bagala bagala uv'izman kariv imru amen. Yehi shmei Rabbah mevorach ve'alam ulamei almaya Yiparach nishtabach, Viparvi drama vinase, Vitadar, Vitale, Vitalal, Shmei de Kudasha, Brichu, Leila min kol birchata v'shirata, Tushbechata v'nechemata damiran be'alma, Nimeru. Amen. For the Amidah, I invite you as always, if the prayer book isn't for you, when it comes to this silent prayer, use your own words of prayer. If you want to follow in the Siddur, page 68, the opening, has just the Avot, just the patriarchs. But page 69 has the matriarchs, the Imahot, as well, as we would do it out loud and when we do it out loud at Sherei Tzedek. So you can choose Siddur 68 or 69 to start, follow it all the way through. There's no special inclusions because it's not Pesach yet, but it is the first Amidah of Shabbat, and so get ready for that to be the flavor that colors your Amidah experience here. It is your first private audience before God. And again, you can always use your own words of prayer, Hebrew, English, or your own words of prayer. Ashiva Ruach Morid Hashem. We're on page 80. Some people have the custom of standing from here to Kiddush, which is in 10 pages. If you are willing and able, you are free to do so. Norman Lyons has announced his presence on the chat. Norman Lyons is attending. Great to have you, Norman. Shabbat Shalom and an early Chag Sameach. Page 80. Vayechulu hashamayim ve'haaretz v'chol tzvam vayechal Elohim et yom hashvi melachto asher asa vayishpot vayom hashvi mikol melachto Asher asa vayevarech Elohim et yom hashvi vayekadesh oto ki vo shavan mikol melachto ki vo shavan mikol melachto asher bara Elohim Asher bara Elohim laso Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu ve'Elohei avoteinu Elohei Avraham Elohei Yitzchak ve'Elohei Yaakov Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel, Elohei Leah. Hael Gadol, Hagibor ve'anora, Elyon konei shamayim v'aretz. Magen avot bidvaro, Mechaye metim b'mamaro, Ha'el hakadosh she'ein kamohu, Hameniach le'amo, B'yom Shabbat kodsho, Kivam ratza le'aniach lahem, Kivam ratza le'aniach lahem, Lefanav navod, B'yirav afachad, V'nodeh lishmo b'chol yom tamid, Me'ein abrachot el hahodaot, Adon, Adon, Hashalom, Mekadesh, Hashabbat, Umvarech Shevi, Umeniach Bikedusha, Le'amedu Shnei Oneg, Zecher, Le'maseh, Vereshit. Page 84. Eloheinu ve'Elohei avotenu retzevim nuchatenu. Kadeshenu b'mitzvotecha v'ten chelkeinu b'toratecha sabeinu mituvecha v'samcheinu b'shuatecha v'taher V'taher libeinu le'ovdecha be'emet. V'taher libeinu le'ovdecha be'emet. Ve'anchilenu Adonai Eloheinu V'ava uvratzon Shabbat kodshecha v'yanuchuva Yisrael mekadshe shemecha v'taher libeinu le'ovdecha be'emet. V'taher libeinu v'taher libeinu le'ovdecha be'emet. Baruch atah Adonai Megadesh HaShabbat. Sarah B., whatever you sent, I know it's probably some kind of picture. I don't get that picture because of the version of the laptop or whatever I have. It just says in between two colons, it says dancing with cats. Fegi Heck, Shabbat Shalom. Barb Neiman, Shabbat Shalom. Kaddish Shalem, page 86. Yigdal v'yikdash shemei Rabba be'alma divrach irtei v'michmalchutei b'chayechon v'yamechon v'chayecho b'Yisrael b'galav v'zman kari v'imeru amen. Yeshmei Rabba mevorach le'alam u'almei almaya. Yiparach v'ishtabach v'yipar v'yidramam v'yinaseh v'yidav v'yidalev v'yidalal shmei dekudesh abrichu leila mikol berchalev v'shirata tushvechata v'nechamata demiram b'alma v'imeru amen. Tikabal tzlot hon uvadhon dechol Yisrael kuram avon d'ishmai v'imeru amen. Yesh lama rabba min shemaya v'chayim alen v'kol Yisrael v'imeru amen. Oseh shalom b'mromav u'yaseh shalom aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imeru amen. Len Steingarten is in there with the Shabbat Shalom. Manischewitz time, a.k.a. Kiddush. A friend of mine sent me an email, said a couple weeks ago, actually, I finally got around to getting back to him because it's just, But when I got it, he said to me, I was just picking up my matzah and my manischewitz, and I'm ready for you. Or I was thinking of you. I was like, oh, great. Manischewitz. I tell you the joke about when I went to go buy manischewitz at the liquor store for Felix's bris. We needed a new bottle, and I went to the liquor store, and for the Americans watching, you can only buy beer and booze in very controlled places in Manitoba. In my province, if you're in Quebec, it's a little more like America, but in Manitoba and Ontario, you have to buy it at very designated places. So I went to the liquor store, and I couldn't find the manischewitz in the USA section. It was very bizarre. And I asked for some help, and I said, could you help me find the manischewitz? And this is a part of town in Winnipeg where there's definitely a large Jewish population, so it wasn't going to be the completely craziest looking. I wasn't expecting that. She took me over to the Australia section, which is weird because, yes, sure enough, it's made in the U.S. And she looked at me and she said, I love using manischewitz for cooking, for marinades. I said, anything but drinking, right? Oh, that was funny. Anyway, so my friend made me think of manischewitz, and there's a story. And there's good things come in threes. So my friend thought of me buying manischewitz. I thought, oh, wow, I'm associated with manischewitz. The liquor store lady had the funny line about manischewitz. And here for Kiddush, I wanted to tell you a story that I told last night for this BBYO event, and a great job by this BBYO event. I never did BBYO when I was a youth because I went to Hebrew school, and it's not the biggest city in the world. Chances are there's quite a bit of overlap, and I saved the weekends and other things for other friends and relax, and I was good. But it's great to be involved with BBYO now, as a rabbi all these years later, coming back and seeing former students of mine pass through. It's really special. And they wanted me. They did it like a Passover campfire. Started off with a whole sing-along songs around the campfire, and then breakout sessions, and it was kind of like stories you tell around the campfire. So, Passover, campfire stories. The Seder is very campfire-esque, right, as it gets later. And I said, I don't know if you've ever wondered what I wonder, but I'm going to bring up this question. And I said, what is Chad Gadya doing at the end of the Seder? By the way, Chad Gadya, which is a newer addition to the Seder, the first recorded Haggadah that had Chad Gadya at the end was in 1590 in Prague, a Prague Haggadah, #Wikipedia. There was a citation, though, so I think that's pretty legit, and I followed it, and it's true. 1590 Prague Haggadah, Chad Gadya, 430 years ago, with a German translation I remember reading. And I don't know if you've ever wondered, but most of the Haggadah, you can kind of figure out what it's doing there. But Chad Gadya, this song about a goat, as kind of the closing thought, right? It's not just that it's like at the end or whatever, it's like it's the last thing. Why? People often just kind of say, and my joke was always that, like, because after 4 cups of wine, you don't really pay attention and you're just singing stuff. But it's this song about this goat, and it has nothing to do with Pesach. And even more weird is that it's in Aramaic. Right? You ever think about that? It's the only full piece of the Haggadah I've learned in Aramaic, but it's not perfect Aramaic because the writer didn't know how to say shochet or malach hamavet in Aramaic, or even hakadosh baruch hu. Interesting that 3 Hebrew terms come at the end. But you know the story. My father buys for 2 zuzim, the goat, eaten by the cat, that gets bit by the dog, that gets hit by the stick, that gets burnt by the fire, that gets put out by the water, that gets drunk by the ox, that gets slaughtered by the shoichet, that gets killed by the malach hamavet, the angel of death, that gets redeemed at the end, everybody beaten by HaKadosh Baruch Hu, God. Like, what does this have to do with Pesach? And so maybe you've heard, and in the 1730s it came out, there was this idea, this allegory interpretation, that the goat is the Jewish people, bought by the Father, God, 2 zuzim, either the 2 tablets or Moshe and Aharon, either way, there's your 2 zuzim, and that each kind of entity after represents someone who conquered the land of Israel after the Jewish people got there. So first the cat, Assyria, the dog, Babylon. Oh, I'm trying to go off memory. The stick, Persia, the fire, Greece/Macedonia, like the Hanukkah story, the water, Roman Empire, the armies of Islam, the Crusaders, the Turkish Empire. And then God at the end is God. And then there's this allegorical interpretation, and there's this symbolism because it's a story for history, a telling of the tale. And in the end, God triumphs. fabulous interpretation, it still leaves me wanting because, okay, so what? Why Pesach? Why does Passover get this? And then I learned that there's something interesting about Aramaic, the language of most of Chad Gadya. Remember, 2,000 years ago, Jews used Hebrew only for the Torah and only for prayer, and Aramaic was for the Talmud, for ketubas. That's why we still have it around, because it was the common language. Years later in Eastern Europe, it was Yiddish. Yiddish was the Aramaic of the day. You used the vernacular, the language of the land, right, to talk. You didn't talk in Hebrew. That's only since Israel 1948 that they talk in Hebrew. Before, no one talked in Hebrew. They talked in Aramaic. They studied in Hebrew. So they prayed in Hebrew. But that actually says in the Talmud, I learned this, that prayers in Aramaic are no good because the angels do not understand Aramaic. I didn't really realize the angels were in on the prayers, but apparently the Talmud says they are, they should be, and we pray in Hebrew because the ministering angels do not understand Aramaic. So it makes Chad Gadya even weirder. Why would it be in Aramaic? Why would there be this story, allegory or not, at the end? And it's because the Maharal, this fabulous rabbi from Prague, Moreno Harav Lov, Yehuda Lov, the rabbi of the Golem story, says that there's three parts of the Seder. First part of the Seder, all the parts of the Seder. The story, the past. The middle part, the food, the present. And the third part of the Seder, beginning with when we open up the door for Eliyahu and then concluding with all those crazy songs like Chad Gadya, the future. That's why there's a recurring theme of the Mashiach in the future. Right? We don't talk about that a ton in Judaism. Talk a lot about the here and now, but the whole last part of the Seder, Eliyahu is the prophet who's supposed to herald the coming of the Mashiach. We start by opening the door to him. We sing things like Adirhu, Yivnei Veito Bekarov, speedily rebuild your house. When's the third temple coming? Yemei HaMashiach. And so too Chad Gadya. It's not just a story about history. It's not just a clever way of reinterpreting what seems like a nursery rhyme. It ends with HaKadosh Baruch Hu. It ends with the Messianic age. It's yet another subtle, nuanced allusion in the last part of the Seder to the future. And think about it. The end of the Seder is all about looking forward. L'shana haba'a b'Yerushalayim. Next year in Jerusalem. Remember last year? Next year, and then this year, we're even hoping for more for next year. There's this pull, there's this idea. Chad Gadya subtly, nuancedly reminds us of Judaism's idea of a better future, a Yemei HaMashiach. Because Passover is all about redemption. Redemption in the past, redemption in the present, redemption in the future. So why Aramaic? Because the angels don't know Aramaic, but God does. And when it comes to praying about something over which only God has control, that is Yemei HaMashiach, we use a language that only God understands. Chad Gadya, not just a silly little goat after all. Page 90. Please rise. Grab your Manischewitz for drinking, not just marinades, or whatever you're using for Kiddush. And join with me. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam borei pri hagafen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kidshanu b'mitzotav v'ratzavanu. V'shabbat kodsho b'avav ratzon hinchilanu. Zikaron l'maasev reshit ki hu yom techila l'mikra'e kodesh. Zecher litziat Mitzrayim, kivanu v'acharta ve'otanu kidashta mikol ha'amim, v'shabbat kodshecha b'avav ratzon hinchaltanu. Baruch atah Adonai mekadesh HaShabbat. Amen. L'chaim. Wishing you a Shabbat Shalom, a Chag Kasher v'Sameach, I know it's another strange year for Pesach, for Passover, and we're looking forward to next year. But however you spend this year, Zooming with friends and family, in close-knit bubbles, masks outside, wherever you are, whatever you're doing, be safe, be together, be connected, and may we all be redeemed through reliving and retelling the story of liberation. Page 118. I invite you to remain standing for Aleinu. Aleinu l'shabeach l'adon hakol, l'tekedu l'yotzer breshit, shelo asanu gegoyei ha'aratzot, velo samanu kimishpechot hadama, shelo sam chelkenu kahem vegor aleinu kechol hamonam. V'anachnu korim u'mishtachavim u'modim lifnei melech malchei hamlachim hakadosh baruch hu. המלכות שלך היא, ולא מעט תמלוך בכבוד, ככתוב בתורתך נמלוך לעולם ועד. ונאמר, והיה אדוני למלך על כל הארץ, ביום ההוא יהיה אדוני אחד, ושמו echad, ושמו echad. I just want to thank everyone again for inviting me into your homes and tuning me in for bringing in Shabbat together, for Kabbalat Shabbat here in the evening service of Shabbat. With Pesach around the corner, I wanted to remind you of a couple of things. Tomorrow night, Minyan 5:30, Seder 6:15, hosted by Rabbi Leibl and the Myers Mass family, broadcast from the shul. I've got some parts, Leslie Emery's got some parts, Dr. Rena's got some parts. Music, songs, stories, explanations from the Seder, led for us by Rabbi Leibl. It was a hit last year. Please tune in to the first Seder tomorrow night. It's a free event, Facebook, YouTube. You can even get a Zoom link. I think there might still be time. Contact Rabbi Leibl. We're in partners in a community second Seder, 6:30 on Sunday. Winnipeg community rabbis, lay clergy, members of local congregations, again, available on our website. You can watch on our Facebook and YouTube page, and again, it's free. Don't forget, Minyan's a very, very busy time through the services. Every morning, there's something different, and led for you by members of our ritual team. We've also got a couple of classes. I'm hosting a Bring Your Own Lunch and Learn on Tuesday at noon. Topic: birthright or birth wrong? Is it better to be firstborn or not? Born later. And on Thursday, over the noon hour, Rabbi Mas will be teaching a Pesach-themed Torah L'chaim, from Pesach to Shavuot, counting the Omer. And finally, our annual and very moving Yom HaShoah Interfaith Commemoration will be Thursday, April the 8th at 7 o'clock, broadcast on our YouTube and Facebook pages with candle lighting, guest readers, and the reading of Megillat HaShoah, the Holocaust scroll. I want to say it's the 14th year of us doing this. For other programs, things coming up, check our website. Again, thank you for everything tonight. Before Pesach, spend a very special Shabbat. However you do it, make it meaningful and peaceful. And let's conclude together on page 124 with the Mourner's Kaddish. Yitgadal v'yitgadash Shemei Rabbah. Be'amad yivrach hirutei v'yamlich malchutei. B'chayechon uvyomechon uv'chayei dechol Beit Yisrael. Ba'agala uvizman kariv v'imru amen. Yehei Shmei Rabbah mevorach le'olam u'lamei amayam. Yiparach, Vishtabach, Vitpa'ar, Vitramam, Vitnaseh, Vithadar, Vitale, Vitalal, Shemir Kudsha, Barichu. Leila min kol birchata v'shirata, tushbechata v'nechamata, damiran be'alma v'imru, Amen. Yehi shlama rabba min shemaya, v'chaim aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imru, Amen. Oseh shalom b'imramav, v'yaseh shalom. Leinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imru, Amen. Thank you, everyone. Again, Shabbat Shalom, Chag Sameach, and we'll see you next time.